Moving to Canada was a big decision, and whilst there have been many positives, I still have some real regrets. There was a day I sat alone in our apartment, snow falling outside, and wondering, did I make the right decision by moving to Canada? I thought I had it all figured out before boarding that plane. But nothing prepared me for the reality that hit me when I finally arrived. Today, I want to share my honest regrets about moving to Canada, not to scare you, but so that you prepare better than I did. Hi there, my name is Edwina and you are so welcome to the channel. My first regret of moving to Canada was underestimating the cost of living. I knew Canada was expensive, but I didn't realize how expensive until we had to pay rent, buy groceries, and pay our monthly bills. Our budget is mostly always very tight, and we are always looking forward to our next paycheck. This has made me understand why it is very easy to become homeless in Canada when you lose your job or have an ailment that makes you unable to continue working. Having an emergency savings here should not be compromised. You should have anything from 6 months expenses and savings up to a year's expenses and savings, so that when the unexpected happens, you have something to fall on. If you are yet to come in, you should have a lot more money on you than you think. My second regret is employment expectation versus reality. Back home, I thought my qualification would land me a job quickly. One of my biggest regrets is not knowing how much job hunting here depends on knowing the right people. I came in thinking qualifications and experience would be enough, but I quickly learned that networking was everything. The reality, I was unemployed for over a year, and also having a Canadian work experience is very crucial, and that makes it even more difficult for newcomers to find jobs. If you are planning to move to Canada, start networking online now. And let me also mention how cumbersome it is for highly skilled workers and professionals like doctors, nurses, lawyers, and pharmacists to transition into the Canadian system after going through a rigorous process to get here. It can actually be compared to a football team that buys talented foreign players, but then they decide to put them on the bench because they were not trained in Canada. My third regret is the weather and mental health. I was so excited about experiencing my first snowfall, and I also expected the cold. However, after just about 2 snowstorms, I was already fed up with the snow, and the cold bites really hard, and sometimes you can't even feel your hands and your ears. I didn't even know my face could feel like it was freezing, and I had no idea that all that snow and cold has a way of affecting your mood. Winter here isn't just about cold, it is long and dark. Seasonal depression is real. And all that vitamin D we get freely from the sun, here you would have to take supplements to get it. My fourth regret is missing family and cultural connection. No one really tells you how much you miss home until you are thousands of miles away. Considering the fact that I am a very private and indoor person, I never thought this would be an issue. However, there have been countless occasions where I have really missed home. where everybody else is like me and my appearance does not appear threatening to anyone, where our culture is similar and our body languages are almost the same, so that my actions and inactions are not misinterpreted. Where you enter a shop and the security does not need to follow you up closely because they are not sure the reason you are there. Despite the fact that Canada is very diverse, it doesn't mean it is always easy to fit in or to feel like you belong. And that is why I travel far to worship with my Ghanaian brethren every Sunday for church service and also build a valuable relationship with them. I can't imagine what this place would have been like without them. My advice for newcomers is that you should not isolate yourself. You consciously need to build relationship with people who understand you and think like you. It helps so much. My fifth regret is language and misunderstandings. Even though I speak English, I quickly learned that language is just more than words. It is more of about how people interpret them. I have had moments where things I said were completely misread, leading to awkward or even tense situations. It appears Canadians are not very straightforward with words and have a way around how they say their things. Sometimes it's difficult to tell what their actual intentions are. And before you say anything, you have to think through it so many times to try to understand how a Canadian will interpret whatever you say, to be on the safer side. In a new country, you have to constantly adapt to how you communicate, and that can be really exhausting. My sixth regret is work-life balance struggles. Work-life balance struggles. Juggling work and family can be one of the hardest challenges, especially with no extended family around. It can be so overwhelming. One thing people who are considering relocating with little children should know is that there are so many sacrifices involved, and it may take a longer time for you to settle in well when you have little children. For example, it will be very difficult for both parents to work full-time jobs. In my case, I have had to reject some job offers because the shifts that were available for me to work just didn't work for me because of my children. Although at the time I needed a job so badly. Other times, the distance from home to work was just too much. I also had to turn down those offers. Imagine that I have to get to work at 9 o'clock and the earliest my children can be in school is say 8. Meanwhile, the distance from home to work is 2 hours. How does that work? It means that if I leave home at 8 o'clock, that is after dropping the children from school, the earliest I can get to work is 10. Meanwhile, work is supposed to start at 9. So you see, it just doesn't work out that way. It is very difficult to find a work that works with your schedule, considering that you have little children. But all these needs to be taken into consideration. No wonder women here took so much into consideration before they decide to have children. The pressure to succeed at work while being present at home is a daily struggle many never anticipate. My final regret is that I wished I moved to Canada earlier. One of my biggest regrets is not moving to Canada earlier when I was single and had fewer responsibilities. Starting fresh from a new country is hard enough, but doing so while raising a family adds a whole new level of stress. If I had moved younger, I could have adapted faster, built a stronger network, and established myself well enough before having dependents. Despite all these regrets, I do not regret moving to Canada. I just wished I had been more prepared. Every challenge taught me something valuable. If you are planning to move, let my experience guide you. Build connections early. Prepare for the cultural shifts. Make sure you have a strong support system. If you can, move when you are still very young and have no dependents. And lastly, do not be too hard on yourself. Moving countries is tough, but it can also be incredibly rewarding. What about you? What are your experiences with moving to a new country? Let's talk in the comments. I would love to hear from you. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Stay blessed. Bye.